Hi, so I'm here with another book review, and this is going to be a non-spoiler book review, and I am reviewing Attachments by Rainbow Rowell, which I just read a few days ago, and the only other Rainbow Rowell book I have read is Fangirl earlier this year, which I did really enjoy, and I actually had pretty high expectations for this book. So, let's get started. So first, a synopsis. This book takes place in 1999, which is interesting, and it is told from the perspective of a guy named Lincoln, and he gets a job at a newspaper, and he's like an internet security guy, which basically means he reads people's emails and makes sure that they're not doing anything against company policy and sends like warnings to people if they do. And he ends, which by the way, he is disturbed by this job. I oddly would find this job interesting and wonder if it is still a job. Like, I know companies like flag things, like my company, we have like procedures, like things you can't talk about. But I wonder how much of that is automated now and how much is an actual person. So I think that would actually be a fun job. It probably makes me a horrible person, but I think it would be fun. And he ends up reading the emails between these two girls, Jennifer and Beth, and they like completely ignore these rules and know they exist but don't care and continue to talk about unprofessional things over their work email. And he kind of gets to know them through the emails, and he becomes attracted to one of them, which is Beth, and so goes from there. It's about him dealing with his attraction to this woman he doesn't know and dealing with his job that he's not comfortable doing and growing up in the world, basically. So I did give this book 4 stars. I did really enjoy it, but it was not my favorite book, and I wasn't like completely blown away, so it was not going to get 5 stars from me. Let me talk a little bit more about some things. One, I loved Jennifer and Beth. I thought it was so interesting that they were such well-developed characters through just email exchanges. Like, all we got was them basically written, but I felt like I knew them. Like, I could picture them in my head, and I completely knew who they were and understood them as characters and knew what their decisions were going to be, and I'm just really impressed that Rainbow Rowell was able to do that. I also really enjoyed reading their interactions. I think they're great friends, and they have some ups and downs, but it's a really good, solid female friendship, which is awesome, and I'm excited to read more and more of that in books. I've been seeing it more and more, which I think is a good thing. And I was just as invested in their stories as I was in Lincoln's, and he's the main character, so it makes sense to be tied to him, but their story made me just as emotional and just as moved. Lincoln, I loved him. I was a little apprehensive about reading a book from a male POV, but I loved him, and like, it's told in third person, but you know, the character still has a voice, and his voice was so funny, and I really enjoyed him. I also thought he was a very well-developed character. Like, I understood his decision-making process, and he had these weird quirks, and I really enjoyed reading about his history. We got a lot of history for him, which, considering it's a fairly short book, I think could have felt like an info dump, but didn't feel like it to me. And this book really isn't so much a romance as it is about Lincoln's personal journey and his personal growth and just becoming an adult, even though he's in his late 20s, like figuring out what he wants to do with his life and all of those things. So the romance, I thought the romance was cute. One thing I did really like was that he was attracted to Beth, and this becomes like a minor plot point, but having never seen her, and the fact that he's attracted to just like her mind almost, in like the truest, most real way that can happen. And I'm kind of torn between wishing there was more of the romance and thinking that there was just enough of the romance. I have not fully decided yet, but if you're super romancy, like want it all the time, this may not be for you, but maybe give it a shot. I just wanted to talk about the time period. So the book takes place in 1999, so there's like constant references to Y2K and just 1999 culture, and everything, like the internet is different and people don't really know what's going on because everything's still kind of newer. It's funny because the newspaper only converts to computer because they can't buy ribbons for typewriters anymore. Like, they're really, like, avoiding it, and I just think that stuff's hilarious. Lincoln talks about Quantum Leap so many times in this book, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. I'm not really sure how old everybody is that watches my videos. I feel like BookTube in general skews a little young. Like, seriously, do people even know what Quantum Leap is? Like, do you even know who Scott Bakula is? Like, I don't know. But, my dad was a huge Quantum Leap fan, and so was my sister, so I would watch it with them and everything. So I was, like, texting my dad when I was reading it, and I was like, I'm reading this book, and they keep talking about Quantum Leap, and he's like, then it must be a good book, and stuff. So I really appreciated those kinds of things. Even though I gave it 4 stars, which, don't get me wrong, is a good rating, I would definitely recommend this. It's like a nice, fairly light contemporary read, and if you're used to reading female voices, I think it's kind of a nice break to read a male voice, and it's an approachable one. Sometimes I struggle with male protagonists, just connecting to them, but I had no issues connecting to Lincoln at all. If you have read Attachments and have anything you want to say about it, let me know it down in the comments, good or bad, and thanks for watching. Bye!